Hello and welcome back. We've talked about the massive challenges facing us in regards to logistics. We're restoring a historic building on a small island in the far north of Scotland, which requires 2 ferries to reach. Logistics are not cheap, and most freight companies won't deliver to us. In this episode, we're taking a step away from the watermill and trying to solve that obstacle. As a step towards resolving the logistics problem, I recently visited a family-run reclamation and surplus yard that has lots of neat things. Of particular interest to us was the ex-military vehicles on site. You might be thinking, wow, how could that possibly solve your logistics problems? And you'd be absolutely right. That's a low-hours armoured personnel carrier and will do nothing for our logistics issues, but it is pretty cool and for sale. No, I'm here to look at a cargo truck, specifically one made by DAF. But I don't have a license to drive a big truck, and the new lockdown in the UK means I can't take the driver training to allow me to do so. Therefore, we're looking at a smaller ex-military DAF truck, a DAF LF-45, which is only a 7.5 ton truck. I still don't have a license to drive it, but I do have a friend who can drive it in the meantime. You see, moving from our rental up to the island the watermill is on is quite a journey. Buying a used truck is actually about the same price as paying a moving company to take all our possessions up to the island. A 12 or 18 ton truck would make a lot more sense in the long run, as a 7.5 ton truck only gives us about a 3,000 kilogram payload capacity. However, it's going to immediately save us money and provide a quicker path for me to be able to drive it. The ferries between islands and from Scotland to the islands charge per half metre of vehicle length, so while a big truck is great, it's harder to find a bigger truck with a 20-foot box like this LF-45, even if we could drive it. A large truck could offer us major savings on ferry fees when picking up really heavy things like scaffolding, slates or concrete, but doesn't have much benefit when looking at freighting lighter materials like wood or insulation. Freight to our island, at least quoted online, is 120 to 180 pounds per 200 kilo pallet. For our American viewers, that's about $220 for a 450 pound pallet. As an example of cost savings, we need around 14 pallets of insulation for the roof and probably double that for the walls. The cost of all that freight is eye-wateringly high. An 11-year-old truck makes a lot of sense, as a return ferry ride from our island to the main island costs about £75. The return trip over to Scotland is going to be a few £100. So not a great vehicle to go pick up groceries in, but if you need to move pallets of materials, it's a real cost saver compared to commercial freight. It also gives us more flexibility for logistics. If we see an item for sale on eBay or the like, for example, a full kitchen or large amount of expensive material someone is pulling out of their house in a renovation, we have the ability to go pick that up anywhere in the UK where a courier just wouldn't be interested. Originally, this journey started with us wanting to buy a long wheelbase van. We found just getting some sheets of OSB from the building merchant to the mill a real pain, but with COVID and the amount of online shopping, many people who are out of work have been buying vans to do delivery for Amazon. Companies have been buying fleets of used vans to do their own deliveries, and new van manufacturing has been impacted. This means vans are not only scarce at the moment across the whole UK, but are far more expensive than a truck. A van of the same age with a third of the payload capacity and no tail lift is around 3 times the price of this ex-Royal Engineers truck. Buying a truck was not a particularly fun experience. Companies don't want to deal with an individual looking to purchase a truck. Many list their trucks as price on application, with no mileage or other details on online sales sites. So we wasted many hours calling truck dealers to find that their trucks had huge amounts of miles or were way out of the budget we set. They wasted loads of our time and loads of their own time in the process. That's how we ended up at a family-owned reclamation yard, because the family listed all the specifics, They insisted on us viewing it before they would sell it to us, and they didn't sell it to someone else in the hour we were researching the model before we got back to them. They were also kind enough to deliver the truck to our house. We're moving up to the island in a few weeks with the truck we just bought. In the meantime, we'll be taking a small diversion from the watermill restoration into truck restoration. There's a few things we want to do with the truck, such as making the bed level, adding some additional lighting to the box, some great big reversing lights for making getting onto the reverse on ferry easier, and adding a reverse camera for the same reason. It's a good way to try out some new tools we have for the watermill, and we hope you'll find it entertaining in the meantime. We're still waiting on listed building consent and planning permission for the first phase of our millworks. This permission will allow us to work on the roof, kiln, and repointing, so I hope you don't mind the diversion into truck restoration in the meantime.